During Pro Tour weekend, we got our very first look at Dusk Till Dawn, including the set numbers. Now, normally in these how much should we buy videos, I typically fall right around a case or so in terms of the local maximum of your pack buying. But this set is different for a couple of reasons. And unless you're a hardcore illusionist who wants those shiny cardboards, I think this one, you're either all in or all out. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, fabulous cast. So yeah, today talking Dusk Till Dawn. How much should we buy or shouldn't in terms of sealed stuff? Now, again, always have to enter these type of conversations with, there is zero question, it is proven, it is a truth that buying singles, in terms of being a player, buying singles is always more economical. That is a true statement. That said, it's, part of playing these games and having fun with these games for many people is opening sealed product. And in this series of videos that I've been doing, for each set, typically it ends up being right around a case to kind of get your local maximum, if you were, of your money's worth. Now, this set though is different, and there's a couple things. So first up, I'll go ahead and throw up the product configuration. So this is a 236 card set, which is actually a smaller number than some that we've seen in the past, and by that obviously we're comparing to expansion sets, right? Expansion sets is what they call them now, right? So 1 Fabled, it's pretty normal. 8 Legendaries, that's a big point in my argument here. 56 Majestics, which is way up. I mean, not way up, but it's significantly up compared. 77 Rares, 94 Commons, and then 10 Marvels. Now, 10 Marvels is relevant as well. Now, the other part of this that's very, very important is these serialized hand-drawn cards. Now, it does say on my image that they're going to be only available in Belgium. That is not true any longer. They made the announcement that they will be putting them in both the Belgium and the Japan printing. I have to imagine, again, I don't know the story, but I have to imagine that was because LGSs were trying to only get one versus the other. And probably would have created almost certainly would have created a product disparity to a certain point. So it makes sense for them to have done that. Okay, so that has been corrected. And then this is 10 packs, 24, or 10 cards per pack, 24, blah, 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 right? All the standard stuff. What is interesting about this, we actually don't have the sell sheet yet. All we have really is this blurb from the article. So we don't technically know the breakdown of that 10 card pack, but it's pretty... I'm making the assumption tonight when we're going through the numbers that it matches what would make sense, which would be 7 commons, 2 rare or higher, and then a flex slot, right? So that's the assumption. Right now, 8 legendaries is a big deal. So I'll go ahead and throw up some numbers because why not while we're kind of talking about some stuff. But there's a couple pieces to this why I think that probably for the normal player, unless you are an illusionist, probably, or someone who's really in it for the shiny cardboard, I think you probably sit this one out. And the legendaries factors into that. When you look at, the expansion sets by and large, granted we're comparing to Dynasty, which was very streaky. Dynasty was a very frustrating product to open from a sealed standpoint, because if you hit one L in the box, you typically got another L, which meant that a whole bunch of other people weren't. That was a very, very streaky set. That was a bummer to open. Generally had either super okay EV or none. Now, with there being 8 legendaries in this, one would hope that the legendary pull rate would be higher. That said, again, if you're only going to be buying, say, a case or a box or something like that, the chance of getting the legendary that you want is basically... like you add on the stats of trying to get the legendary you want, and then you add on trying to get a legendary and then the one you want, you follow. That's rough. So again, I think this is kind of one of those situations where it's probably best to just focus your money to get what you want or what you need. All right. So looking at the numbers here, commons, there's 94 in the set. Obviously there's 168 per box. Comes to 1.7. That's a couple 1.7 boxes to a playset, so rounded up to 2. That's very, very flat with what we've seen in the past. It's actually a little higher in this case, but it was like 1.6, I think, last. So that's 2 boxes. So if you get a case, round it out. That's also where we fall on what would be a case in this case. See what I did there? 177 rares in the set, so 153 to full play sets. You would need 4 boxes, which would be a case. Those both track pretty well consistently with what we've seen, and that's generally why I argue if you're going to be buying it, max out at a case, because then you'll have a play set of most everything you need. And then you go to the Majestics, which drives a lot of this conversation for me personally. So what I did is I did these numbers in 2 ways. The first, the table you've been looking at, looks at Majestics at the current outsiders distribution rate of 6. So with there being more Majestics in this set, I mean, that's just the way it works. It's going to be harder to get the Majestics that you want. Now, again, we can and probably should assume that, especially with the heroes in this set and their weapons, we should assume that there's going to be single printing, right? Or quote unquote short printing of some of those, right? So you won't necessarily need 3 of them. So that's why I have those asterisks there. That said, with 56 in the set and being more, and at 6, you need 28 boxes to a playset. Now, if we go to this image here, which is me using the Dynasty distribution rates, right? So basically going back to the last expansion set, it actually comes out to 21 boxes per playset. So yes, it's lower in that case, but it's not that lower. I mean, sure, it's several $100s, but it's, in the grand scheme of things, right, looking at it, that's a tough argument. Okay. Now, sure, there's these, I do want to speak a little bit to the, serialized thing. That should not factor into your decision at all, right? I mean, that's the lottery. You have just as much, that's not true. I was going to say you have just as much chance opening in 1 pack as 20 cases. That's obviously not true, but you get my point. Like it should not factor into your it should not factor into your plan at all. And then we have the fact that we've got, let's go ahead and put them up. These babies, these are gorgeous. This one at least is gorgeous. There's no reason not to believe that they're not all going to be gorgeous. And look at Jeremiah players, look at Prism players. They like having tricked out decks. So the serialized thing combined with these, I think is going to drive a lot of product sales. And that's why I think that the right thing for a player who does not care about all the tricked out stuff, I think that the right play for someone who's just trying to get their stuff in a most cost-effective way possible is to probably sit this one out, because I think that with all the product being open, people chasing these things, I think you're going to have lower prices, at least at the beginning. Now, the larger stores may not do that because they don't want to undersell, but TCG player is a thing, right? So I suspect that a ton of product, there's a lot of people very, very, very excited about this set, and completely fair. The set looks awfully good. Sorry, poor choice of words there. Set looks amazing, looks gorgeous. I want one of these. I do, just because, especially if it can be used with a light hero or light warrior, it'd be awesome. No, of course I want this stuff, right? And I am, to be very clear here, I'm not saying don't go out and buy Dusk Till Dawn. If you want this stuff, if you are a Prism main and you want all your shiny toys, go buy the snot out of it, right? You do you. I'm just saying that for the average player who just wants to get what they want, again, we started off saying that was the most economical thing to begin with. Again, we get it. I'm not saying go out and go buy the set. I'm not saying don't go out and buy the set if you want to open it. If you want to open it, do it. But it's probably going to be, it's always true, and I think it's probably going to ring more true for this set. How's that? I think that's a good way to end it. So anyway, you saw the numbers. Again, my argument is with all the things going in, I think it's going to be easier to get what you want. But let me know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, if you agree, disagree. If you're going after the big stuff, it's probably going to be harder to get it, to be completely fair. But if you're just trying to get your play stuff, so again, you have to decide what's right for you, what you want to enjoy, right? If dropping money on a case is what you want to do. If you're going to buy sealed, I think you're at least in for a case. But honestly, I think if you're in for sealed, you should probably be in for like multiple cases. But that's certainly not the local maximum of your money. And unless you're going in on like 20 cases, I think it's going to be rough. But what do I know? So we will see when it gets here. It's going to be fun to crack these babies open, do the drafts, get these pretty angels on the table. So enough for me today. Thanks for joining, folks. Let me know what your thoughts, why you agree, why you disagree, and go Commando.